Sector is to support and help to create the recovery community in wider society, in mainstream society. One of the metaphors that I think of around recovery is a chimney, and I guess quite appropriate in this lovely space that we're talking about fire. And there's a lot of symbolism associated with fire, but when you build a chimney, you kind of you start to sort of channel and control the fire. The bigger you build the chimney, the greater the pull, the greater the draft, the bigger the fire gets, the stronger the fire gets. Yes, you've got to keep putting fuel on the fire, but a chimney sort of controls and makes that fire manageable. And the bigger the recovery community is in Lancashire and elsewhere, the bigger the pull is. And it's this, for me, this recovery community pulls people into it.
And in me, standing up here and telling you that I'm in recovery and I spent 25 years in addiction, you know, that challenges it and pushes the boundaries. We want to remember the lost people who've lost to addiction, who are still out there. People that are still out there and who have passed away, you know, and we'll have them sometime this afternoon. And also to celebrate recovery, because we need to celebrate it, because if it's not fun, what's the point in recovering?
This is going to be a game of two halves, so the latest metaphor for me is a sporting metaphor. It's a Saturday. Football's really my sport apart from fishing. And what I want to do is talk about this as recovery is a game of two halves, if you like. This first 15 minutes, we'll talk about some of the serious stuff, and then there's an incentive to hang about till the end. If those of you stay at the end, we'll have 15 minutes of recovery bullseye. So, there's an incentive for you to stay. So, can I have the first slide, please? Right. So we'll just put all these on and then I'll just run through them. And looking in the audience, I know that a lot of people have heard this before, so please bear with me. But I think it's worth starting at the beginning. So what do we know about this entire phenomenon of recovery and the relationship between treatment from addiction and recovery? Well, the first thing is people do recover from addiction. If you're working in treatment, I've worked in research, policy and practice for probably over 30 years now. And until 2005, when we set out, when the North West was asked would it be a pilot area for seeing what treatment services might look like if they had a recovery orientation. Prior to that, I hadn't really seen much recovery because I'd always worked in orthodox medical, clinical treatment services. And therefore, if the truth be known, I hadn't really seen that much recovery. I'd seen lots of addiction. I hadn't seen much recovery. And it was only when we went looking for it in 2005, with a view to the North West being a pilot, that we actually found it. And guess where we found it? We found it in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous and Smart Recovery, where they'd been since 1935. Let me tell you, when you leave and you've spent all your money and you leave the most expensive treatment service in the world, you will leave with a meeting list for Alcoholics Anonymous and a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and variations on that theme, because the very best treatment in the world will only ever get you to half-time. It'll get you to half-time 1-0 up and smelling nice, but you'll still only be half-time, and the second half will be about you and us coming together to try and get well, ideally where we got sick, yeah? And we'll only be able to do that if we recognise and harness the therapeutic value of one addict helping another, and the therapeutic value of one alcoholic helping another, because it is probably, the magic is probably without parallel. And our job as bureaucrats, as Tom said, and commissioners and quasi-commissioners and government advisors, is to create the conditions wherein the magic happens. We don't do it. We don't do it. We get you to half-time, 1-0 up, smelling all right, yeah? The next bit is you coming together with others, with your fellows, men and women in fellowship, coming together to find a common solution to a common problem.
I'm really hoping I don't need that either. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah. I don't really know how I'm going to follow that, Mark. Kind of like taking up then, I'm going to kind of bring it down a level. But yeah, it's kind of studying, thinking, how do I kind of follow that really? Because Tom's known as the daddy in Lancashire, apparently. So I'm thinking, if Tom's the daddy, what's Mark? Teenagers that used to throw bottles, stones at me, spit at me, punch me. Cars would manoeuvre around me when I was laid paralysed in the road. I had Christians campaigning with banners, patrolling the red light area saying horse how. Police officers refusing to touch me without gloves on. Every time I ended up in custody, there was a refusal to give me opiate substitute medication, even though I had a prescription. Doctors and A&E nurses' intolerance and absolute look of disgust every time I presented at A&E. I had something called crack-induced psychosis, which I was pretty mental, you know, God-given. I was absolutely bonkers, but I was reaching out to these professionals for help, and nobody gave me a diagnosis. They just looked down at me, and I just continued doing what I was doing. I've made amends for the harms that I've caused, and today I can stand proud. You know, it's not that I'm proud of my past by any means, shape or form, you know, but I don't regret it either. And there's a saying, well, it's not a saying, it's one of the promises of AA. Where we've gone with the next one. It says that no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we'll see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in our selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. And I love that, and that's certainly one of the promises that's been given to me. I think Mark used the analogy very well. Recovery is contagious, but to get it, it's kind of like addiction. Addiction is contagious, but you have to come into contact with the substance in order to get addicted. Recovery is exactly the same. If you don't come into contact with the very people that can infect you with it, you're not going to catch it. You're going to remain hopeless, you're going to remain kind of isolated. You need to be around it in order to catch it, and there's a lot of that in Lancashire. I'm very, very proud with the movement that's kind of happening. There's a lot of visible recovery. Mama put my jaws on the ground.
You have to bear with me, I am nervous, and so we had to often Kathmandu, I'll try and bring it back to the room. But it's been amazing so far, and I've really enjoyed it, and thanks everyone for coming and making this possible. I'm just going to share a bit of my experience of being in addiction and in recovery, and in me sharing my experience as a professional and have someone in recovery. I hope to challenge that stigma that it's okay to be in recovery, it's okay to be a professional in recovery, and I'm proud of where I am, and I'm proud of what I've done to get where I am today. So I will never shy away from my past, because it's made me who I am today. I think I've always been a bit funky. I have my thinking is a bit funky. I think it comes to light a bit when I was a kid in school. We were standing in the play yard, and do you remember the dinner ladies that come round? I remember a dinner lady asking me, well, you know, there was always a kid around the dinner lady, wasn't there? They'd come up and she was saying to the kids, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? She said, I want to be a bus driver. He said to the next one, what do you want to be when you grow up? He said, I want to be a fireman. And he said to me, what do you want to be? I want to be an assassin. I want to be an assassin. I want to shoot people, I want to kill people. And I want to be a bank robber. And that's what I wanted to be, and I don't know where that come from. And I remember I was coming to the end of my sentence, and I had 10 days left, and he said, you can go to Kirkham. I said, what are you sending me to Kirkham for 10 days? He said, you can go to Kirkham. Go on. I thought, well, I'll do it, because it'll get me Cat D status and stuff like that. So I've gone to Kirkham, and it was like a little estate. unbelievable, and they've let us out the pads at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you're just free, aren't you, just to go wherever you want. And the first thing you do in prison is who gets visits, who's got visits, who's and where can we get it. So we found out who's got a visit, waiting them to come off, and we took his drugs off him. And that was the second day. The third day, I was feeling a bit rough because he had a bit of a habit coming from Walton. I thought, I'm not sitting here, Alan. I'm not sitting here. I said, I'm off. I said, I'm going to do a bag. So I said, you're coming with me. So we sneaked out the billet about 10:30 at night, right over the fence, done a bag, got a few £100, and said, this is the mentality. Instead of going home and scoring, I said, I'm going back to prison to score. I said, come on, we'll go back to prison. So we're going, he's going, after money now, and I'm going, no, let's just wait. So we're bombing it back, we get over, we get chased by some cows, and we ended up back in and I said, whatever you do, do not run in front of the billet where the spotlight is. There's a spotlight over the doors of the billets. I said, do not go round the back. And he's gone, all right. Boss, he goes for it, doesn't he? He wants to be first in the friggin' window. So we got saved, by the way. So as I'm giving him a lift in back in the window, the screws come round, I get nicked. I stash the money under the brick, and I get sent to Preston with more time. And that's just the mentality in me, that in or out of prison, I will do what I have to do to get me drugs. I was very passionate, and I wanted to know, you know, when people went out, people had come back. And we all used to sing this song, farewell, goodbye, we'll miss you. and they'd go out, and I'd see people who were doing a really good programme, a really good programme, and they were doing really well, and I said, this guy's going to make it, And he'd go out, 3 months later, he'd come back, head like a bear's couch, face over there, let's say, freaking out, mate, what happened to you? I said, you said you were good to me. He said, what happened was, David? He said, I met this girl, and she was drinking, so, because she was drinking, I thought, I'm going to have a drink, and nothing you know. Freaking out, I said, when you get out, whatever you do, don't go with a girl who drinks. Stay clear of the girl who drinks. So next minute, Peter supports go out. I said, this is the guy. He's going to do it for his boys. You know what? I tell you what, I've never seen anyone with so much passion. So he'd go out, and 3 months later, 6 months later, come out and like a bear's cow. I'd say, I'd sit him down and say, what happened? He said, well, I met this girl. Amazingly, I have power. I just believed everything she said, and next minute she was using it. And I said, whatever you do, when you go out, do not meet a girl and I have power. Do not go with someone who's drinking. Stay well away. Someone else will go out with me and say, this is definitely. I'll tell you what, he's going to do it. I've never seen anyone speak with as much passion in the world. So we go out. 8 months later, he was back, dead like a bear's cow. Bear's cow, it's all done. I said, oh my God, what are you doing back here? What happened to you? He said, David, what happened was, I met this girl. She took me. I said, sod that. I said, I'm not even going with any girl, it doesn't matter. So, anyway, I got out of jail and I met this girl. Back in with the net like a bear's couch. Kelly, who's in recovery, is kindly from a sculpture to remember them people that are lost. So I'm just going to invite Kelly up and just to talk about, you know, the sculpture and how she come about to do it. So, Kelly,
it's a hard thing to kind of put in visual language, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. My asset, if you like, which has been talked about today, is art, and that's what I love to do, and it's my passion. And to put something like this in a visual language, it's difficult. And so what I thought
remembering the lost. There's a lot of people, I've been in recovery now 8 years, and I've seen a lot of people either go back out there and I've never seen them again, or die from this disease. And I still remember them now, and I still remember them people from the first 6 months, you know, that I lost back then, and along the way, and every now and again I still think about them, and every now and again when someone mentions something, it's still there, and I know a lot of us are like that, and I just thought that we are united, we are connected in that remembering, and as well, I thought originally this was about those we've lost to death, those that it's taken that way, and I just thought, you know, when people go back out there, that's you know, that is lost, you know, that's just as bad, and so I just, in this, I kind of, in my art, I'm very much into the process of it, and I try and put a lot of love and a lot of hope and a lot of little prayers into the making of it. So it's kind of, and that's what I've done really. The hands there, they're cast, and it's about the unity in it. It affects not only the addict but the family and the services, the people that try and take care of us and just don't understand when we go back out, and you know, it affects everyone. And one of those hands is my sister, and she's still out there, and I managed to catch her when she came down one time, and I made her sit with me, holding my hand for half an hour while I cast it. There's other hands there that are people from NA, which I go to, and I made them all one Sunday afternoon hold my hand and hold each other's hands while I cast them. My dad's hand's in there, and I need to give a shout out to him because he's really helped me with this. It's been a bit of a collaboration between me and him, which would have been unheard of 8 years ago. I lived in the same house as the man, and I never spent any time with him at all. And so that's what it's about. It's about the community, the recovery that's happening, about how we are connected in remembering those that are lost, and as well how in that remembering it drives us on to help people even more.
So I just want to take a minute and yourselves, if we just reflect for 1 minute and let's think about them people we've lost, and do whatever you do, say a prayer or whatever it is you do, and just recognise them people in this room here for 1 minute. Thank you.
Now the drugs don't work, they just make you worse, but I know I'll see your face.
It started off with me and Matt, you know, having an idea that we wanted to help people come from the same background as us, you know, in the revolving door of, you know, going out thieving to fund the drug addiction. Along the way, we did schools talks, we formed a partnership with YMCA, you know, Five Coast YMCA, and we was doing stuff within schools. Ultimately, you know, we wanted to get into the, you know, the prison system, and we've both been ex-offenders. You know, I've got around, you know, 14 sentences under my belt, come constantly in and out of prison, and Matt's pretty much the same. We've got similar story about drug addiction, like many other people have that come from where we are. And ultimately, you know, we started doing this, started getting involved in LUF, and you know, and meeting people. His name got about.
What we do in the prison is, these guys here are so far and so fixed in their recovery, they go out the prison and find people that are bang at it and go and have a cup of tea with them and try and show them that they can recover.
And stigma, you know, they said to us that we'd never get into prison, that we'd never work in prisons. We do, we work in a prison today. Me and Matt actually work in a prison today.
You know, and it's like, the whole idea of having, when we had the recovery week, was to show the prisoners how much recovery is out there, and what the feedback we got was people didn't realise how much recovery was in the prison. Do you know what I mean? I'm in recovery, Mark's in recovery. I can come in some mornings and have a bad day. I've got no chance of getting past one of them without them saying to me, "What's going on with you, Matt? What's going on?" And I'm like, "No, I'm all right." "Don't think you are." You know, it's like, I've had a bit of a bad day. Do you want to talk about it?
Hello everyone, I'm Stephen. I'm a prisoner of HMP Kirkham. I was a cocaine user. When you're a user, you're close to a dealer, and when you're close to dealers, you're close to suppliers further up the chain. I made a few mistakes along the way, and I was sent to prison to be punished for my role in a conspiracy to supply drugs. Matt and Mark from Second Chance then came to HMP Kirkham to work with the prison. Wow, 2 ex-users, 2 ex-offenders. Credit crunch. 20 million people out of work. They're working in a prison. Brilliant, there's some hope.
When I was in my last sentence, I was in there for like 3 years, and I maintained a drug habit for 3 years in prison. I got drugs every day, and one day, Christmas Day, an officer opened the door, come in and said, pack your kit. And I was like, I wasn't due to go out for like another year. And he opened the door, he went, pack your kit. And I went, what do you mean pack my kit? He went, you're going down the block. And I went, for what? And he went, just bear with me, you'll understand. Took me down the block, sat me on the bed and said, you know what I've been thinking? You're quite a nice kid, you. I quite like you, do you know what I mean? He said, what I'm going to do is, illegally, I'm going to keep you down the block for 3 weeks and detox you. Do you know what I mean? They kept me in the block, detoxed me, kept me in the block, and I went from the block, and then I went to rehab and I got clean. And that's how I got clean. And from what we've been doing with the Second Chance, we go to other prisons, and I got invited to a prison in London, and I went to the prison and I was doing a talk to young offenders in this prison, and we went for dinner, and as I went for dinner, the officer that nicked me and put me down the block had transferred prison, so I was walking along the landing. This was like 6 years down the line, so he was walking along, and I'm like, that's him. And like, so I went to, and he didn't even know that my brother had the same name. We both got the same surname, he never clicked. You know? And I went to my brother, that's him, get him, and the officer come over and I had a chat with him. And the officer said that the morning before he'd handed his notice in to leave the prison service because he couldn't make a difference. And he said, there was me and my brother and the governor, and he said to the governor, I'd like to withdraw that. I'd like to stay in the service. Like, he got 16 years, he's been in prison 8 years, and we took him to Luff, and he was buzzing when he got the Luff t-shirt and as many pens as they can get in their pockets. Always a good one. You know, pens and fucking key rings and lip gloss, loads of lip gloss they've got. and they did all that stuff, and then we got in the bus, and I said to him, Michael, what did you think of it? Did you think it was really good? And he went, do you know what was the best thing? And I went, what? And he went, that security officer, I was in the toilet washing my hands, and he looked across to me and went to me, proud of you. No one's ever told me that in 8 years. So all that recovery you see, that little tiny thing, changed that kid, and he's a peer mentor now. From myself and Mark, we just want to thank the prisoners, because without them, we wouldn't be successful. Do you know what I mean? And so these are the ones really, you know, we've started something in a prison that could have flopped. These guys have made it incredibly good, so I just want to like put my hand together for these guys.
Let me tell you about what I've seen this week in a prison. I've seen a culture change. I've seen a group of prison officers who care, who are kind, who are considerate, who have given permission to the prisoners to also care and be kind and considerate. And them guys are over here today. And we went into the prison to show the prison what was in the community, but what happened was the community seen what was in the prison, and there's some fantastic assets. Lastly, this is my baggage. I live my life on this now, but just want to give my thanks to my fiancée there, Lisa, because she's a big part of my recovery and the reason why I'm here today. You know, I got the right girl here, Dave.
My name's Chris, and I'm a grateful member of Celebrate Recovery, and I'm in recovery from bereavement. A little bit of my story. I married my childhood sweetheart. We met when I was 13 years old. Oh. Yeah, we met, you know, sort of after 7 years. I got married aged 20, and we were really happy. We had 4 kids. And while my wife was pregnant with our 4th child, she suddenly began to become unwell, and we ended up going to the hospital. She'd found a lump in her breast, and we went to the hospital. There she was, 14, 16 weeks pregnant, sitting in a hospital, while the consultant looks her in the eyes and says, you've got an aggressive breast cancer. There's nothing we can do because you're pregnant. Go home and decide if you want to keep that baby. How do you choose between the life of your wife and the life of your child? How do you make that choice? You can't make choices like that, can you? And it was at that point that I turned to my higher power and said, help.
Sounds easy, but it's not. You carry something long enough, it feels like a party. You walk away, but a minute later, it's back in your hand. Back is tricky like that. You gotta keep dropping, keep throwing, keep letting go so you can take hold of something better. God's best for your life. And for that, you're gonna need both hands. Celebrate recovery. Real help for life's baggage. Meet you soon at a church near you.
At that point, we decided we wanted our lives to count for something. We wanted our lives to mean something. And I made the choice to give up a job in the City of London to come and to become a minister in the church. And I came here to be a pastor of the church here. And about 15 months after starting here, my wife got ill again. And we discovered that the cancer had come back. And there we were, sort of looking at a family of 4 small children. And we knew that my wife's illness was terminal. And I spent the next 18 months caring for her through her terminal cancer, preparing 4 children for the death of their mum, looking my daughters in the eyes and saying, Mummy is going to die. And that's heartbreaking. How do you cope with something like that? How do you deal with something like that? And the hardest thing I ever had to do was to pick my kids up from school and take them home and say, Mummy died this afternoon. Now, how do you cope with stuff like that? How do you face things like that? For some of us, the approach we've had to some of those things in our life is to look at the bottom of the bottle and to say, that's how I'm going to cope with this. I found, for me, being a minister in the church, the power of a community around us supported us. I became a single dad of 4 kids aged under 10 years old.
One night, I had a wondrous dream. A set of prints on the sand was seen. The footprints of my precious Lord, yet mine were not along the shore. But then a stranger print appeared. I asked the Lord, what have we here? This print is large and round and neat, but Lord, it's just too big for feet. My child, he said in somber tones, for miles I carried you alone. I challenged you to seek my face, take up your cross and walk in grace. You disobeyed, you would not grow. You would not stand against the flow. Your neck was stiff, your ears were shut. So there I dropped you on your butt. Because in life there comes a time when one must fight, when one must climb, when one must rise and take a stand, or leave one's butt print in the sand.
Brilliant. So we're here with David Hyam, the organiser of the event. How do you think it's gone today, David?
I think it's gone absolutely fantastic. I think all the speakers have been really passionate, and just the buzz and the atmosphere that's going around. Everyone's really enthusiastic, with a smile on the face. And just there's a real buzz, a recovery buzz and a recovery vibe going on that is absolutely contagious. It's amazing, and I think the special moment was the moment of silence, and I got a bit emotional, and I can feel that emotion coming up now. You know, the people I've lost to addiction, and you know, a family member is still out there, and I think it's touched everyone else's heart, because the minute we broke, everyone come up wanting to put the initials on the sculpture that was revealed, and there was a lot of tears as well.
I found today interesting, and it's given me a lot of hope. I've found a lot of help by different folk, different messages.
Yeah, really exciting. I'm a prisoner, mate, based at HMP Kirkham, and there's a group of us lads that's actually come out today to obviously get experience what the conference is like through the NUF, get to meet different people who are in similar situations to us, and you know, take advantage of what is on offer.
Me and Johnny met in treatment about 6 months ago. It was very difficult to get on with each other, come from difficult musical backgrounds and stuff. But recovery gave us that, you know, the funding from that I personally got from Chorley, Johnny from Manchester. And really moved by the Al-Anon thing today, you know, and all the recovery speakers and everything. By the grace of God, as I understand it, I'm here today. You know, I gave up drugs, 30-year heroin addiction 6 months ago and stuff. And this is a song that may or may not be about heroin, but we think it is.
Yo, well, actually, these places, seriously.